Hey guys, welcome back to Jessen Reads Romance. I'm Jessen, and today we're going to be doing a 1K Q&A because we hit 1,000 subscribers on my channel, and I'm just so excited. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Thank you to all the booktubers who have shared me with their own subscribers, and I'm just like, this has been so much fun, and I'm just so happy to be here. I will be linking other booktubers who have not yet hit 1K in the description box below, so please go subscribe to their channel and help them out, pay it forward. Okay, so earlier this week, whenever I hit 1K, I asked you guys to submit some questions, anything that you want to know about books, podcasts, me, and you submitted some amazing questions, and I have them all written down. I did separate them to bookish things and then life stuff about me things, so bookish things first. And I do have to shout out Marta because Marta submitted 10 or 12 questions, really good ones too. So thank you so much, Marta, for really hammering me with the questions. Also, can we take a minute? This is what he does while I film a video and you can't see him. He sucks on his blanket like he's ready for a nap today. Okay, so first question is, who are your auto-buy authors? And that one was honestly super easy because auto-buy for me is I don't even have to know what it's about, or I don't even have to like the cover. I'm just I will buy what you will write no matter what. And those authors are Nalini Singh, Kennedy Ryan, Talia Hibbert, Ilona Andrews, and Lisa Kleypas. Yeah, those I will auto buy no matter what. The next question is about comfort reads. I actually had a couple questions about comfort reads, which I love them because I'm a huge rereader, and so I definitely have a lot of comfort reads. And someone else asked, what's your top 5 favorite comfort reads, so I have a list of them. The first one is Torn by Carrie Cole. Not everyone's going to like this book. It is an age gap. The girl does start off, she's 17. She does turn 18 in the book, and it has a little bit more of a taboo relationship in it as well, but I just think it's so beautifully written, and if you don't like Torn, then you should try Tied, which is the next one, which does not have a taboo relationship. But Carrie Cole is one of my favorite indie authors. She just writes so phenomenally. These characters, I truly believe that they are meant to be together. It's just they have that soul connection. It's just amazing. And then there is Love Hacked by Penny Reed. This is an older woman, younger man, and oh my god, Alex just gets me every single time. I love Sandra and Alex. They have such a great story. Then we have Spell of the Highlander by Kara Monning. I actually still reread her Highlander series. Dark Fever used to be one of my favorite series of all time, but Spell of the Highlander, there's just something about Jesse and Kian that really does it for me. And Kian is this huge alpha male, and he's dependent on the heroine because he is stuck inside of a mirror. And it's just the wildest ride. I love Jesse. I love the way that Kian falls for Jesse, and he is wrapped around her finger. It's just amazing. You should definitely read those. Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. I am a huge proponent of St. Vincent over Derek Craven, and I know a lot of people are Derek Craven is the best historical romance hero or Lisa Kleypas hero, but I'm just I'm here for St. Vincent. I'm sorry. I like the reformed rake bad boy, and he actually had a true reformation. The first time I met him, I disliked him so much, and the way that Lisa Kleypas kind of turned him around and stuck him with the most unlikely heroine, Evie. It was just chef's kiss. Oh my god, I love it. My next comfort read is Him by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. Oh my god, this couple is just couple goals. I loved it. Childhood crush, kind of second chance romance. Not really second chance, but childhood crush. They definitely fooled around whenever they were younger one time, and then they meet as adults, and it touches my heart every single time. It never gets old. I can read it over and over and over again, and I still get every single time. And then of course, most of the Side Changeling from Nalini Singh. If I'm feeling down, I'm gonna go check out a Side Changeling. They're shifter romances, fated mates, and I'm just there's something so comforting about reading in this amazing world, knowing that these characters have someone just for them, and it's just The next question is how to make better reviews. And my only advice would be rate it how you truly feel it, because it really comes across in the review, no matter if you're writing a review or doing a video review of a book. This is something that I struggle with, especially with like popular romances. I feel like I should be liking them because everyone else does. But the problem is everyone has a different experience and they bring something to the table that maybe something in that book just does not mesh with them. For example, there's a popular indie author named Erin Nichols. I can't remember if it's Nicholas or Nichols. And she writes romances in New Orleans that features Cajun characters. And as a resident of the Acadiana area in Louisiana, I find fault in a lot of how she writes those characters because authors tend to mix up Creole and Cajun culture. But do you care about that? No, because you're not from here and you don't have my experience with like the nuances of Cajun culture versus Creole culture, so that's not going to bother you whenever you read it. But it does bother me, and it really does lessen my enjoyment of it because I'm just like, I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but when all the characters are walking around saying y'all and sha, and yes, that's how you say C-H-E-R, it's sha, because we bastardized the French language. Also the fact that every single character that is Louisianian, they have a southern drawl, and I'm just like, we actually tend to speak a little bit fast. I have to like really think about slowing down. I speak so fast sometimes that I trip over my words, which is why there's a lot of cuts in these videos. But yeah, rate it how you feel it. If it's a 5-star read and everyone's just like, meh, this was okay, it doesn't matter. It's a 5-star read for you. And if it was a 3-star read and everybody else was like, this is the best thing I ever read, it's a 3-star read for you. And just be open and honest about why you don't like it, and don't just like hate on a book, obviously, for just no reason. Just be like, I hated it. And if you're honest, your enthusiasm comes through, and I think that just makes the better review. The next is, do you have a system for rating books, and what is some of your 1-star reviews? So I don't tend to give 1-star reviews. I can't remember if I've ever given a 1-star review, and if I have, it must have been like extremely problematic or like horrible, like in a deeply offensive way. But I normally just tend to give 3 to 5 stars, because if it goes down to like the 2-star level, I'll normally just DNF. I'll just DNF a book rather than continue on. There has been some recent books where I've continued through, pushed through, because I'm looking for the good in it, because a lot of people have liked it, and I should have just DNF'd it, and just, it's okay to DNF books, just DNF them. So my system for rating is, a 3-star is, I liked it, but there's some problems with it, and I can't help but think of my problems whenever I look at the book. Even though I might have like enjoyed some aspects of it, it still had some things that kind of overshadowed the overall enjoyment, but it's still a nice read, and I would still be like, yeah, you should probably try it. You may like it. I would still suggest it to people, just with like, but this is the caveat of why I did not like it. 4 stars are like extremely enjoyable, but there's like that one thing that's holding it back that I'm just like close, but like not like my favorite of all time. The thing that separates a 5-star and a 4-star from me normally comes down to how the conflict is resolved in a romance. Sometimes it happens too fast. Sometimes the 3rd act breakup is just too much for me and too stupid, and just like, is it necessary for them to break up, or are you just doing it because that's like expected in romance? It's not necessary. There can be another type of conflict if you need to have that like thing that happens toward the end, that like twist. And then a 5-star read is just like, blew me away. I will reread it over and over and over again, and I will tell everyone about it. And your 5-star reads are probably not going to be the same as my 5-star reads. The next question is, where do you do most of your reading? No place exciting. My couch or my bed. Like, I read a lot at night. And yeah, the couch, I'm a multitasker, so I can have like the TV on and also read, and I can like have a conversation and read. So yeah, that's where I do most. No place exciting. Now, where's your favorite place to read? This is completely different. I love reading outside, but I don't normally do it because our weather in Louisiana is super crappy. My ideal weather is like 60 degrees with some breeze, but like sunny, and we don't have that like ever. So the next question is, if you could visit a setting from one of your favorite books, where would you like to visit? I would like to visit the America of the Psy Changeling world, because both the Psy and the Changelings are kind of like really environmentally friendly, and like the whole state of California has been like overtaken by trees. It's just like amazing, and I just absolutely love all like the eco-friendly things that they do, and it's still grounded in like a familiar sounding world, but with shifters in it and with Psy in it, and it's just, yeah, I would love to be in that world. And of course, if I read like a contemporary romance that's like in a destination, like one hot Italian summer, like of course, Tuscany. I would love to go. Like yes, definitely, I would be in that setting. This next question says, what book have you been most surprised to have liked over the last year or two? And I guess I'm most surprised that I really enjoy reverse harem and menage romances. I never thought I would. And like Juliet still is like, that's not her favorite. She just likes monogamous relationships because she's like, I just can't imagine ever sharing my husband with somebody. But like, I honestly really do enjoy a good menage and polyamorous relationship, whatever. And I'm just like, I never thought I would like that. And I'm just like, I have enjoyed a lot of books like that. So the next question is, what has been an utter disappointment? What book has been an utter disappointment? And I'm actually going to save this because at the end of the year, I always plan on doing like, what are my favorite books of 2020 and like what books disappointed me? Did I have any highly anticipated reads that just fell really flat? So I am going to answer that question, but not until the end of the year. Next is, what type of romance would you like to read that you don't think you've seen yet? And I don't think there's anything that I'm like jonesing for that I'm like, I've never read a romance like this, because there's always going to be a romance where I'm like, oh my God, I never thought of that. But like, I can't think of one off the top of my head. The only one, and I've talked about it before, is I just want to see more body positive heroines, fat heroines who love their body and who don't have a conflict that they have to personally overcome their insecurity with their body, or it's the plot revolves around their weight. I would just like to see more authors doing or giving fat characters a more interesting story, more varied story. Like Talia Hibbert and Rebecca Weatherspoon, I can't say enough. I really love the way that they do things. Next, do you have time to listen to other romance podcasts? If so, what other ones do you like? Time to listen to other podcasts? Not really. There's like not a lot of time, but I will definitely, if there's like a specific book that someone is reviewing on their podcast, I will totally listen. So I love to listen to Learning the Tropes. Aaron and Clayton are so funny together. Boobies and Newbies, Not Your Mom's Romance Book Club. Those are the three that I normally just like, I see them all the time. They normally read the same kind of books that I like to read, or like something that is new and I've never seen before, especially like indie authors that I've never seen before. I really like to go check those out just to get like a general gist of if they liked it or not. The next is, whose author brain would you like to pick the most? Past or present, living or dead, to tie up a loose end, or nagging question? And I'm so glad that that was included in parentheses, because speaking of tying up loose ends, Rochelle Mead, we need to talk. How could you end the Dark Swan series like that? How could you just let that loose plot line just dangle in the wind? And I know that she said like, I would love to write another book in this series, but like the publisher hasn't expressed an interest in, you know, giving me a contract for more books. And I'm just like, find a way to give us like a conclusion to that story, because I don't want to spoil anything, but just like, Dorian, that's all I'm gonna say. If you've read this series and you know what I'm talking about, please let me know in the comments that you are just like dying for that to be resolved too, because I'm just like, I don't understand why was it ended this way? Like, if you knew your contract was for this many books, like everything ended pretty well except for the secret, and I'm just like, Dorian needs to be told. Okay, yeah. So I would love to have a sit down and be like, how are you going to resolve this, Rochelle? I know that she's like in retirement now. I don't even think she's writing right now, but like, Rochelle. Next is there a heroine to which you most identify? And this is actually kind of a hard one for me, because the heroines that I tend to like are like not super like me. They tend to be like bold and like super funny and extroverted, and I'm very introverted, and I'm just like, but I think Marie from Dating-ish by Penny Reed, I think I'm most like her. She's not too quiet. She's not too outgoing. She's like middle of the road, and I absolutely love that romance. You should totally go read Dating-ish. Marie and Matt are just, I love them so much. Yeah, definitely like some quieter heroines, or some heroines who have like social anxiety. I know that Rena Morgan wrote a book. Oh my God, I'm gonna blank on the book's name. I'm gonna have to go look it up, because she wrote a character who had like social anxiety issues named Gabe, and like I love the way that she portrayed Gabe's character. It was such a sweet romance. Oh, I think it was called Wild and Sweet. I think that's what it was called, Wild and Sweet. And then also Stella from The Kiss Quotient. She had some anxiety obviously to do with her autism, because she knows she doesn't want people to like treat her differently. And whenever she goes meets Michael's family, like she knows it's not really gonna go well, and she's like sad that she's offended people. And I'm just like, I want things to go well whenever I meet new people. Like I definitely think about that. I want to make a good impression and stuff like that. So yeah, those kind of people who overthink things. The next one is, did you ever finish the Grave series, which is the Charlie Davidson series by DARYNDA Jones? What did you think of it? If so, I'm going to put a spoiler because I am going to talk about stuff that happened in the series finale. So spoiler for the whole duration. If you've not read it, then don't listen to this part, and I'll remove the spoiler sticker once I'm done talking about it. I was very disappointed with the way that this series ended. It didn't feel like it ended in an HEA at all. Like Charlie and Reyes, they never really got a happily ever after. The fact that they like became part of the cosmos to watch over Beep, to protect her, like great, but I wanted them to be with their daughter. I wanted them to like live happily ever after, and to me, like being part of the cosmos just is not the same thing. Like they don't even have corporeal bodies. Like I just don't understand how that was an HEA. And like I'm still excited to read the spinoff with Beep and Ash. I think it's going to be fantastic. Obviously, there's still some things that need to be wrapped up that are going to happen in their book, but like I need Charlie and Reyes to like come back to Earth in their bodies and like have a white picket fence and like a good life, like in the background of whatever is going on with Beep and Ash, because I'm just like, and I don't even remember Beep's real name. It was like some like beautiful like celestial name, like some with an E. Oh, it was really pretty. But anyway, I just still call her Beep because that's what Charlie referred to her as whenever she was pregnant. I did not like the way that that series ended. I was very disappointed. Felt very anticlimactic. And it's so sad because I love this series so much. And I'm just like, I want to read up until she's pregnant with Beep and just like close it out right then. And then if you want to pick up as a spinoff, like I don't need all the other things that happen after that. Very interesting things like background with Charlie and Reyes, all that kind of information that came in the books that after she had Beep. That's very interesting, but I wish it would have happened earlier and just cut off whenever she had the baby, and that's it. I don't want there to be any issues. Spoilers then. Next question. Have you ever read Flowers from the Storm by Laura Kinsale? It's my favorite historical romance ever. Duke has a stroke and can't speak, is thrown in a mental hospital, and he and his nurse fall in love. Only problem is she's a Quaker. She must choose if her calling is to be with someone outside the church or stay boxed in her sheltered world. Such a beautiful love story and so deeply moving. I have not read this, but I really do want to read it now. That sounded super interesting. I would read it. These questions, these types of questions. If you could only read one series over and over again, what series would you pick? I would have to play it safe and just do Side Changeling series, because first of all, they have 19 books. I could definitely like space those out and like, yeah, it's still going strong. Side Changeling books, the Lisa Kleypas world, and I say world because like, you know, the Wallflowers and the Hathaways and the Ravenels are all interconnected. I think like some from the Gamblers series and the Bowshirt Runners, they're all like there too. So yeah, Nalini Singh and Lisa Kleypas, and it's no surprise because both of those are some of my favorite comfort read authors, so I can read them over and over again and not get tired of them. I already know that, so yeah, guess that wasn't too hard. If you could only read one romance author for the rest of your life, who would it be? Talia Hibbert for contemporary. I have to do it by like subgenres of romance because there's no way I could just be like, I want to read contemporary for the rest of my life. I want to read historic. No, I need like one author for each subgenre because I like to switch it up. So Talia Hibbert for contemporary, Nalini Singh for paranormal, Alona Andrews for urban fantasy because she is phenomenal. And who did I miss? Oh yeah, Lisa Kleypas for historical, like hands down. Lisa Kleypas is my favorite historical romance author, even though like I have so many other I have more top tier historical romance authors than like any other subgenre, but still Lisa Kleypas just takes the cake for me. Okay, next, what is your favorite book in a genre or trope you don't usually like? I'm gonna have to think about that one. Give me a second. Okay, so I wrote these down because I had to like go look in my shelves on Goodreads to go see like what are my least favorite tropes and like what book did I like in those. So the first one is motorcycle romance. I don't like reading motorcycle romance anymore. They all remind me of Sons of Anarchy, and it's just like, if you want to write a motorcycle romance, I don't want it to be like Sons of Anarchy. That's all I have. But anyway, Kristen Ashley is very well known for her motorcycle romances and like Motorcycle Man and all that, and though I don't really love Kristen Ashley, I did love Own the Wind. And Own the Wind was about Tabitha and Shy, and I really liked them as a couple, and it was very like sweet. And yeah, I just like that one. Then I don't enjoy the billionaire trope, and my favorite billionaire romance is Brooklynaire by Serena Bowen. The billionaire is the owner of a hockey team, but he's like this altruistic guy, so I don't know, I like him. And he's nerdy too, like he's like an inventor. He's techie, he's a tech guy, and that's how he came into his billions. And I don't know, he's just really sweet, he's nerdy, and I like him. And then modern royals. Just don't like modern royals, but Alyssa Cole's A Princess in Theory, it's the only one that I've read out of that series, because even though I really enjoyed that one, like 5 stars, it just, I don't love modern royals, but I love Alyssa Cole's writing. So yeah, A Princess in Theory is like top notch, love it. It was fresh, it was new, and her characters are phenomenal. How long does it generally take you to finish a book with an average of 360 to 380-ish pages? 5 to 8 hours, I would say. Sometimes I can read really speedily, especially if like nothing else is going on, I'm not multitasking. 8 hours, yeah, typically. Sometimes it'll take me a longer time to read a book, even if I'm enjoying it. It just depends on what I have going on. So what is the #1 book you would recommend to someone? Again, I can't just like, I normally ask like, what do you normally like to read, or what interests you? Like, I need to know a little bit more about you to suggest a book for you, because not every single book is for everybody. Like if I recommend a paranormal to someone who only wants to be in contemporary, then that's not helpful. So first of all, I want everyone to read the Grip series. I think Kennedy Ryan just like chef's kiss, and I know a lot of people are like, the Kingmaker series is like, I liked it even more than Grip, and I'm just like, no one can unseat Grip in my mind. Has a couple like cheesy moments in Grip, like that book specifically still is perfection, like still is like nothing is wrong with it. But yeah, it's just amazing. The Winston series, so I guess I would recommend Truth or Beard. It's funny, I like her type of humor if you're going for like a rom-com thing. The Hidden Legacy series, so Burn for Me by Ilona Andrews, it's just like, I love this urban fantasy world, so good. And I would recommend Kate Daniels series, but the caveat of it finds its stride in the 3rd book. But if someone would tell that to me, I'd be like, well, I don't want to like waste my time on like 1 and 2, like the first 2 books if they were just like so, and then it starts picking up the 3rd book. But like, they were just starting to write, you know, they were just finding their strides as writers, period. So I give them leeway, and Kate Daniels is like one of my favorite series of all time. It has the best series ending, and I can't wait for Blood Heir. Blood Heir is a spinoff, and I'm just like, and of course anything by Lisa Kleypas. If you want to get into historical romance, I'm going to suggest a Lisa Kleypas book. She's phenomenal. I love her characters. All right, the next one is, how do you make time for books if you have a busy schedule? What do you suggest? Okay, so my Kindle, I read a lot of ebooks. I really do. My experience is that the Kindle is like an extension of my arm. It comes with me everywhere. If I'm walking from one side of the house to the other, my Kindle's in my hand and I'm reading as I'm walking. I read in a walk, I read and watch TV, I read and cook. Like the Kindle is propped up. That's why I like my little origami case. Hold on, I have it right here. Origami case stands up like this, like it just stands up, and so I can like hands-free like read, flip, whatever. Anyway, I read in traffic, at red lights. The book comes with me everywhere. If there's 2 seconds to spare to read, I'm most likely going to do it, unless there's like some pressing matter that I cannot split my attention between 2 different things. Then that's different, but yeah. Audiobooks have become my friend lately. I had never really gotten into audiobooks. Some narrators are better than others, and so I just didn't bother with audiobooks, but now, like listening while I work, yeah, that's like amazing. Now, here's like a good transition between like bookish questions and personal questions. Does having an author for an aunt give you a different perspective on books? And I don't know if it's like unique to me because a lot of authors are very like open with their process and like, you know, setbacks and whatever during their writing process. Like online, it's the day of social media. Authors like to share where they're at. And yeah, they do share stories, especially in like if they have private Facebook groups or whatever. So I don't know if I have like a unique experience. I can tell you like what it's like chatting with an author during the process of writing a book. I am Juliet's like critique partner. I pretty much read her books at every single stage that they're at. First chapter, she sends it to me. The first few chapters we heavily edit like right in the beginning because it sets the tone for the entire thing. And if something changes in the first one, then it's probably, the first few chapters is probably going to change like everything else. So I read that. I read chunks of chapters as she's writing it. I read the first full draft for her and give her feedback in addition to her editor. And then after she makes those changes, I read it again as like a beta reader. Ooh, that actually reminds me of something that I see a lot of the times, that it's not like it bothers Juliet, but like she's always worried that she's not doing enough. So I see a lot of people, and I don't think that readers are meaning to be like complaining or anything like that. It just, I'm sure a lot of people are like, this is complimentary. I am dying to have another book by you, you know, the sooner the better. But when readers are messaging authors and being like, I can't believe I have to wait so much amount of time until the next book comes, like I'm dying, I can't wait that long. Juliet is just like, oh my God, I wish I could write faster. But lots of authors are not full-time writers. They have full-time jobs. Juliet has a full-time job. She's a teacher. She has 4 kids. She's involved with plays with her husband because that's like stuff that they like to do together. And then she writes. That's a lot of stuff to juggle. And even if you do write a book in a month, there's the editing process. Like some authors will put out books without editing them heavily, but Juliet's like, I want to try to perfect this book as much as possible. So anyway, just like things like that. It might sound complimentary to like beg them to write faster, but it also puts a lot of pressure on authors, especially authors who cannot put out like 5 or 6 books per year. They're trying their best. They're gonna write it when they can write it, you know? Now if we're talking about George R.R. Martin, that's ridiculous. Like, write your damn book, George, okay? And the next question, tons of people actually ask this question, is what is your job? And it's so funny because we always talk about Juliet's job as a teacher. We say it a lot, and we never talk about what I do because it's boring. I'm a bookkeeper and an executive assistant. I graduated in 2015 in business management. Funnily enough, this year I decided to go back to school. What a time, because then COVID hit, and this is one of the reasons why I have less time to read than normal, is because I'm currently in school. I work and I do the podcast. I decided to start YouTube knowing full well that I was going back to school. And you know what? I don't regret it because I love this community. It honestly keeps me sane while having to like become a student again. What is your best line or lines to people when you explain that you not only host a podcast about romance, but also produce a BookTube channel on romance? This after they get a weird look on their face, or how do you explain how amazing romance is to others? So the podcast was actually a huge turning point in my life, I would say. It was I got to the point where I was so exhausted with like trying to hide that romance is a genre where I love. It was many years where people knew I was a bookworm but didn't know that I was a romance reader pretty much exclusively. I just got to the point where I'm just like, I'm tired of hiding it. Romance is amazing. I've read some phenomenal books. Hollywood keeps dipping into romance landia for ideas, so I'm just like, I don't know, y'all people crazy. Stop sleeping on romance and just recognize its greatness. So the podcast helps with that. Honestly, now I'm just like, if someone asks me for a book recommendation, I'm like, I only read romance. Do you want a romance recommendation? Because I have plenty of those. And honestly, I think that is a big key to like shutting down any kind of like digs about romance. If you like confidently be like, oh, I only read romance, do you want me to give you a romance suggestion, like dead serious? And they're just like, oh yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it catches them off guard that you don't seem ashamed of it. So yeah, being more confident about liking romance actually shuts down a lot of the haters. And I'm not talking about online trolls, because people are very brave online and they wouldn't do that in person most of the time. So, and also I had this uncle that loved to tease me about and just like, oh my God, you read books with like sex in it. I'm like, so are you saying your relationship with your wife and your sex life is unimportant to you? I don't think so. I think it's a very important part of your life. So I don't know why people are going like, ew, sex, like you have it, you enjoy it. That's probably why you are in a relationship. So what is the big deal? The next one. Is your dog the only man in your life? Yes, Ollie is the only man in my life. I am a single Pringle. That makes for amazing Thanksgiving conversation with the family. We're like, when are you settling down? When are you gonna find a man? I'm just like, have you seen the dating pool around here? And in general, online dating? That's another thing. As a shy person who it takes a while for me to like get comfortable in your presence, online dating, whenever the guy's like, must have a great personality, must have an awesome sense of humor, I'm just like, I might not come across that way the second you meet me. You have to like let me warm up to you. So it's just kind of like, why try? If it happens, it happens. I'm just gonna live my life and read romance. Ooh, what an interesting question this one is. Where do you best like to meet fans as a person who has some social anxiety? I am pretty open with my social anxiety, especially on the podcast, like behind the scenes stuff like that. I talk about it a lot. And like it may come across that way on BookTube, that, she doesn't seem like she's shy or she's an introvert or whatever. And I definitely have to prepare for social interaction. I know that people find that very weird, but I literally have to mentally prepare myself to be like, okay, you're gonna go out and you're gonna have to like have a conversation. The best analogy I have is like, I have this like internal battery pack, and I have a threshold for how much extrovert I can do at one time. And if it's depleted, I will start being silent, and instead of like actually conversing with you, I'll start going like, yeah, and just like not really contribute anymore. And it's not because I don't like you or I'm bored with the conversation. It's like literally I'm exhausted inside. My extrovert is exhausted. It cannot come to the phone right now. So planned interactions, that helps me because I can plan it in my head. I'm a huge planner. Google Docs, Google Forms, Excel, all of those things are my friends. I love organization and stuff, and it just helps me feel in control of situations. So yeah, I can still like perform on the spot. The battery gets depleted a little bit faster if I'm not prepared for the interaction. I used to work in sales. Like I can do it. I can so turn it on and do it. I can like have a conversation. I just need breaks. I just need a break. What has someone told you is the weirdest thing about living in the South? A Louisiana specific thing that's weird, and you may not know, and you might know, but we have drive-through daiquiri shops, and so you can get like different types of daiquiris, which is like a frozen alcoholic beverage. You can literally go through a drive-through and order it just like fast food, and they give you the drink. It is taped over, and it does not have a straw in it, and you're not allowed to drink in the car, obviously. But yeah, people are like, what? Also, you can buy alcohol like anywhere. There's no like store that does not sell alcohol. And I know that a lot of people have like specific liquor stores, and liquor's like not in the grocery. Like liquor's just everywhere in Louisiana. A Southern specific thing that I guess people have said is weird, but it gets on my nerves, is the whole ma'am thing. And I read this in books a lot. Heroines get offended when somebody calls them ma'am, and I get offended if someone fusses at me for calling them ma'am. Obviously, nobody fusses at me when I'm in the South for calling them ma'am, but I've been up north before, and I have checked out in the grocery store, and I'm like, yes ma'am, and they're just like, I'm not a ma'am, and I'm just like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Like, I call somebody my same age ma'am. It's not a sign of disrespect. It's actually me being polite to people that I don't know. I just, instead of being like, yeah, no, it's like, yes ma'am, no ma'am. And to us, that's more polite. It's like a part of the Southern culture. Like, you wouldn't fuss at somebody from East Asia for bowing instead of wanting to shake your hand because that's their culture. Just like, stop fussing at me for saying ma'am. I'm so sorry, but I'm not. Sorry, not sorry. And I also hate reading about it in romance like that. Ma'am is not derogatory, does not mean you're old. It's not a sign of disrespect, especially if it's coming from a Southerner. Now, if someone's being sassy, fine, you can fuss at them, but like, I'm not. What do you think is the weirdest thing about us Northerners? Okay, so this obviously came from the same person. Weird. I don't think it's weird. I don't think, well, dry counties are weird, like just because the way we grew up, alcohol was just everywhere. But anyway, I went to another state and I'm like, what is a dry county? What do you mean? What is a dry county? But honestly, I'm just jealous that everywhere north of us has seasons and we do not. We do not have seasons. It is so hot all the time. And then a couple weeks out of the year, we'll get like freezing cold weather just for like a short amount of time, and that's it. We really don't have a spring. We really don't have a fall, which I'm so sad about because I love fall. We just have this one big summer. Have you voted yet? Yes, actually, I have never early voted before in my life. I always do day of election stuff, but I thought, let's go early vote this time. And speaking of hot weather, the lines were long and people had umbrellas because it is still super hot. Like, don't be fooled by this long sleeve thing that I'm wearing. I'm inside, the air conditioner is like going full blast, but like outside it's hot. The sun is like beaming and my pale skin would have fried. So yeah, umbrellas are your friends whenever you're waiting outside in line to vote down here. And honestly, I think that was the longest I've ever waited to vote. So lots of people voting. The next question is, would you ever write a romance? And probably not. Actually, I just watched the other day, Jessica answered some of the questions about BookTube and someone asked her that, and her answer I was like spot on. That's exactly me. I like reading romance too much to be a writer. It takes so much time to be a writer. Like, I just listed all the stuff that Juliet has to do. It takes up so much time, so much energy, and I just rather spend it reading good books. Not to say I haven't had ideas. I have like a whole note section in my phone for ideas, but as I've said, I love organization and stuff, so I will plot out a whole entire book, like outline a whole book, and I'll do like charts with characters and like descriptions down from like age and physical descriptions and personality and all kind of stuff like that. And once I write all that, like, I feel satisfied because I'm like, oh, I know how the story is going to end. Like, that's great. And then I'm like, I don't want to write it anymore. Like, this is it. The outline gave me enough satisfaction writing all that down. So yeah, that has happened multiple times. Juliet's like, oh, finally you're gonna write it. And I'm just like, I don't know why we're gonna pretend like I'm actually gonna write this. I just like this idea and I had to put it down, and now it's out of my brain and I feel good. And give me a book to read now. And the last one, how did you start the podcast? I don't know if this is like, why did you start the pod? Not why, but like, how did it come about, like wanting to start a podcast, or like how did you start a podcast? So I'll answer both. I love listening to Binge Mode podcasts. They went in deep to the books and the lore of Game of Thrones, that whole series, A Song of Ice and Fire. I read all those books. I loved it. I was geeking out. I was one of those people that I was like, I want to talk about all the nuance that is missing from the show. Binge Mode podcast did that. They later did Harry Potter books as well, and that was a part of my childhood, so I love that as well. But like listening to them gush and be super nerds about this amazing like world building and stuff like that, I was like, I want to talk about romance like that. Like, I want to, do people do that? I went and I looked and I saw romance podcasts were a thing, and I was like, yes, let's do it. So I asked Juliet. Juliet's like, sounds fun. I will be your co-host so that you have someone to talk to. And yeah, that's how it started. Now, how it started, different. I think I talked to Juliet about starting a podcast in July or August of 2018. And then I did lots of research. You honestly, the way that I plan is so specific to me because I like to have all my ducks in a row to like feel like I did the most. So anyway, it took me months and months and months to actually plan it because I was getting my supplies together. I was making charts of like what episodes I want to do, what's the format, how are we gonna do this. Anyway, I thought a lot about that. But you don't have to do that. All you need is a microphone, a server. There's so many out there. We use Buzzsprout. And editing software, I use GarageBand, which comes with Macs. You don't have to pay for it. So that's all you need to actually start a podcast. But yeah, we built up 8 episodes. We did a test episode first, like we did a full-on book review that we ended up by scrapping because we were all over the place. We were very giggly. We were like sitting across from each other. We're like, this is so weird. Like talking about romance books and we're like facing each other. It was very weird to start. And so we scrapped that first episode. I had 8 episodes under my belt before we even launched the podcast in January 1st of 2019. I released the first 4 episodes like consecutively, like one day after another, and then I had 4 other episodes as backup to like give us some cushion. So I like to plan ahead because Juliet has a life, I have a life. Sometimes some things happen and I never want to be like, oh, sorry, I don't have an episode for you this week. Obviously, I'm an overthinker. You honestly don't need a lot to start a podcast. You don't need a lot to start a booktube. It's just, yeah, just start it. If you love doing what you do, because this is all hobbies for me. Like starting a podcast, I just wanted to talk about books, and I wanted to like find other people who wanted to talk about books as much as I wanted to talk about books. And being part of the BookTube community is just another way that I can like be involved with other people. I love this community. So guys, thank you so much for submitting all of your questions. Honestly, this was so fun. I don't know how long this is gonna be. I'll try to edit it down so it's not as long. Don't forget to go subscribe to all of the people that I've linked down below, all the booktubers who need to also make it to 1K. I hope that you enjoyed this Q&A video with me. It was fun for me to do. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, subscribe now and you'll get notified on any future videos that I do. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, life's better with a little HEA. Bye guys.